Now, ahead of the budget speech tomorrow, let's cross back to my colleague Mfundo Mabalane, who is at Ivory Park on Gauteng's East Rand, on what some of the residents there expect to hear from the budget speech. Mfundo, I hope it's second time lucky. What are the residents saying there?
No. Thank you very much, Bongiwe. I do also hope it's second time lucky. Indeed, we are in Ivory Park in Tembisa. We are at the Ubuntu Senior Citizens Center. Now, when we speak of the center, we're speaking of a center where the elderly spend most of their day here from morning until noon. Today, they're here until the evening. This is where they're kept active. It be with beadwork, exercising, gardening, quite a lot that they get to do throughout the day here at the center. But also when we look at the senior citizens today, we've come to ask them of their expectations, or at least what they hope the Finance Minister Bongiwe would prioritize in his budget speech. Because when we look at the elderly, who are supposed to be those who use their pension for themselves, unfortunately, the South African context, in most instances, you find that the elderly with their pension are looking after a number of people in households. So in essence, they are the breadwinners. So quite important to hear from them what would be their expectations or what they would wish that the Finance Minister would prioritize that would speak directly to their lived experience. So I just want to take you through the center where we've got our esteemed guest today, or I am the guest here, welcomed by the elderly. So as you can see here, most of them would be busy with the beadwork, Bongiwe, but beyond that, you also have some very nice equipment just at the back. I hope a bit later on we can show you some of the gym equipment that they use, because most of them do keep active. But I want to speak to just one of the elderly to find out what they would hope that the Finance Minister would prioritize that would alleviate the pressure on the elderly. Good evening, Mama. Bestela usitshele, for you, what would be your expectation? What would you want the Finance Minister to prioritize?
Yes, the way kungakhona mama ulona uminister ngathi angasinceda kakhulu, because imali yabo gogo incane kakhulu. Ngathi angazamanyana ukuthi ayikhuphule nyana nale yabantwana, because every year kuyatshintshiwa kuyakhulunywa but nothing eyenzakala isibona ngathi isinika umdlandla thina size sibhoreke nokubukela nalo budget speech.
So in most cases, Bongiwe, as stated, that pension would not only be a pension that is utilized by just the elderly, but also that goes towards the family. So let's hear from another elderly person. Sawubona mam, ungasitshela, what are your expectations, or sifiso sakho yini? What would you like to hear from the Finance Minister tomorrow in his budget speech?
Isifiso sami ukuthi sicela ukuthi ugovernment asiholele nge1 ngabo 3-4 sokulate.
But then lenye info besingafisa kwathi ukuthi when we speak of a community yala Ivory Park, what are the situations or simo lenibukane naso?
Isimo esibukane naso ukuthi mangabe asinceda ngaleyo mali leyo, izinto zonke ziphakeme ziphezulu, and then asikho isitolo esingena abogogo bonke bondwa, isitolo singena abantu nobani, sicela ukuthi asifakele leyo mali.
All right. And then we move on just to take another elderly person, Bongiwe, just before we toss back to you. Wena mama, besicela usichazele ukuthi yini lo ngakufisa kukuva kusasa iFinance Minister mayikhuluma mayelana nesimo sabogogo nikhulisa abantwana nakhona la maphilisi ayadura, makliniki avalwa early kakhulu bogogo babadinga lusito, you are queuing for hours on end at most of these clinics. What would you like to hear from the Finance Minister?
Nane ke kopa ntate a re okeletse tšhelete bokoko ka hobane go di shopong dilo di a tura, ene re supporta di tlogolo tsa rona le rente le re patala e ngata le electricity e a tura ha re afford. Le go gola ne ke kopa hore re gole early, se ka ra gola ka bo di 5 re gole ka bo di 1.
Bongiwe, as you can hear, a common thread, most importantly, the one about when exactly they would get their grant. It seems as though the 5th is far too late, because in most instances, as they've stated, that this money would have to be stretched for far too long among the whole family, which also includes the grandchildren. So we'll find out a bit more from some of the elderly here at the Ubuntu Senior Citizens Center, exactly what else they would like to hear from the Finance Minister.